Here I go. Yeah, where do I start? Some viewers asked me to share about the story behind You're My Identity, and I've already shared a little bit about Abi, where that started. But You're My Identity is something different, I think. It won an award. I'm sure many have seen this already. But this was an award it won at the Victory Gospel Music Awards back in, sure, I think it was already 2016, maybe a little bit later. Yeah, it was 2016. Can't even remember anymore. But so this song was something very different and very special and dear to my heart because it truly summarized the time that I had within my school years. Maybe I can just backtrack a little bit and share that I gave my heart to Jesus when I was 9 years old with my grandmother in Wilderness, which is a beautiful little town up the southeast coast of South Africa. And I remember very vividly where we wrote down on a little piece of paper the date and the statement that Shanna had given her heart to Jesus Christ, and the little line with on the bottom of the page with an opening space for me to write down my name and signature of a 9-year-old at that time, not really much more than just a scribble. But that really stuck with me, and I think since that year on, things changed a lot about just my walk and how I viewed God and how intimately I loved Him. And I think truly from that moment on, the Lord gave me a very deep sense of devotion to Him and love for Him that I think in some way it transformed through the years and grew in maturity. But for that time, being a 9-year-old, I was very much devoted to doing the right thing, being the person that God would look upon with pride. And I guess at that point, within a 9-year-old's head, it might not have been exactly what it is today, but for sure it was coming from a place of deep sincerity. And went to a different school in grade 4. I was 10 years old. We changed schools. And from that moment on, I experienced deep rejection from my peers, sadly. I just don't think they knew what to do with me because I just didn't fit into any boxes. I was handled differently, I spoke differently. I sometimes did that especially to not want to become part of a system or a norm. I really wanted to be what the Lord wanted me to be. And I was very much convicted with a sense of living a life different to the world. But sadly, that brought about misunderstandings, misconceptions, and different forms of rejection. I wouldn't go too far as to say it wasn't bullying, but it sure felt like that at times. But not to focus too much on that, when I got to high school, it did intensify to a large degree. But what also intensified in my heart is the deep understanding, the deep longing to understand where my identity lies and how to truly find that within Christ. And you can imagine in a 14-year-old's heart the uncertainties of trying to figure that out on her own, her parents not being in the same town, having to be in a hostel where there were few friends, very few. But during those months of struggling with that and wrestling with that and praying about that, I had a deep sense of love from God throughout this period. And You're My Identity was born from that. I remember it very, very vividly, where I was sitting in the bathroom stall and I was just crying, trying to understand where do I find this? Where do I truly understand? From where does it spring? And at that time, not 100% sure that it actually sprung from a very deep relationship with Jesus. And that's a beautiful thing. If you love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, that's one of the commandments, right? The greatest commandment. God knows that would result in you obeying Him and living a life worthy of the salvation to which you've been called. It's not about doing this, doing that, following ritualistic traditions and such, but it's actually just about loving God with everything inside of you And then it just becomes so easy to do His will because you want to. And I think that kind of the penny dropped when I realized that. And so You're My Identity was born from that. And I wrote it at 14. I recorded it at 16. And this song continued to win an award in my matric year when I finished my school studies. And that was very much a turning point in my life because right throughout from grade 4 to grade 12, I had experienced different forms of rejection and hurt and not fitting in anywhere, any group, any specific place. But I did know that God was for me, and I knew that there was a reason why I was meant to live a life like this. It's not about being superior, because none of us are, but it's truly about living a life that is honoring to God, despite the fact that sometimes you will just not fit into any societal norm, and that's okay, just as long as we live with full conviction of what God is calling us to. And so this song continued to inspire many young people. I remember finishing my university years and going back to this high school to share my testimony there. And after sharing my testimony, I sang this song at the assembly. And after sharing the song, after testifying, 30 young women came forward, crying, weeping, having also experienced similar ordeals in this school. And they gave their hearts to Jesus as well. We prayed for each of them. And this is really just to say that God can use that moment of vulnerability so many years down the line that I would never have thought that this song would go ahead and win awards or be played on radio stations or in any way have an effect. But God honors an honest heart, and that was really in that moment a cry of honesty, that God would show me who He is so that I can know who I am. And even today it's still relevant because it's working into young people's hearts, showing them that their identity is not found in men, it's not found in drugs, it's not found in sex, it's not found in peer pressure, acceptance, but it's found in Jesus and Jesus Christ alone.
I'm so